This week, I want to show you how to pick fruit. Whether it's plums, apples, pears, I want to show you some basic techniques, what to do, what not to do, just to enjoy your outing. Stay tuned. I know what you're thinking. Who doesn't know how to pick fruit? Well, being able to pick fruit and being able to pick fruit without causing damage are two different things. The reason people stop doing U-picks is because they get tired of seeing all these broken spurs because people were picking and, or picked and, hey, I broke off the spurs. This is your future production. This is where you should have fruit for the next 5 years. If you own the orchard and you see this kind of damage, you go, yeah, you know what? No, I'll pick it myself, but I don't want all this damage. So I just want to show you today how simple it is to pick fruit without causing damage. So to start, you have to understand, how did the fruit even get there? It starts with the flower. So the flowers are always pointing upright, trying to attract the attention of the bees. Then they form little fruitlets, and as the fruit get bigger and bigger and heavier, they start to come down underneath the spurs or branches. So to pick them, the key is you really just want to go in the opposite direction. So here's one. They're hanging absolutely down. The easiest is you just pick that fruit up and it detaches very well. So what you want to do, in this case you have a couple, you can just split them apart, but twist. So what not to do? Please don't just pull the fruit. You pull the fruit, you'll pull off the spurs. That's the production for next year, the year after, and the following years. So please don't just pull the fruit off. Sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you'll get the spurs with it. Don't pull, lift. Don't pull, lift. Got it? Got it? Good. Picking pears is the trickiest fruit, I find, because if you let them go ripe like this and you say, well, that's ripe, pears ripen from the inside out. So usually when they're ripe on the inside, not in this case, they're often overripe on the outside. This one's really just about perfect. It's starting to get a little bit, I call it sawdust, where it's kind of that dry situation. So you want to get them year to year, note when they start to ripen, and pick them ideally a week before. So we have the first fruit ripening on this tree. This is the time to pick them, and you want to pick pears green to be sure they're not overripe on the inside. And then keep them in the fridge, take them out, leave them on the counter for a week or two, and they will ripen up to be just perfect. There's a little bit of technique with using your fingers to pick. I just want to show you how to pick using your index and using your thumb as lever points. So say I want to pick this fruit. I could pull, which is a no-no, or I could grab the fruit, put my finger there. It's not time to pick these yet. So I could put my finger here as I'm picking and lift that fruit up. You see how my finger acts as a lever point? And that way, when I go to pick them, I don't damage. So I could do that with my index, or I also do that with my thumb. So with my thumb is, as I'm picking, I just put my thumb on that lever point and I lift. So that way, You put your thumb and you lift. That gives you results of picking using your fingers without damage. Just want to show you now using your whole hand, because if you pick one fruit at a time, that's easy. You pick one fruit at a time. Look, you're picking on an outing. You're not in a hurry. You watch the birds. You enjoy the surroundings. Picking one fruit at a time is fine. If you want to pick for your own trees, you want to start to pick a little more, then you start to use your whole hand. There is a bit of technique using your whole hand. So let's just say you're picking, and these are small fruit. When you're picking big apples or big pears, the trick is use your, in this case I'll use this finger because I'm there. You pick one, then you switch. You pick the other, you pick the other, and now you're using your whole hand. So you want to really fill up, and often the key is keep filling up between. These fruit are not really, they're only ready in another month, but I'm just showing you. So you pick one, then you use your next finger spot, pick two, pick three. The idea is load up your hand. So some people, I've seen pickers with really big hands, they'll put 4 fruit in one hand, big fruit, and they can pick. So if you're big-handed, you have an advantage to picking fruit. So practice that and try to use your whole hand. And then one really important thing is don't drop your fruit into the bag, please. Most of these will bruise, so you deposit gently. Think of them as eggs. You deposit them in your bag, in your basket. Don't drop them, please. One thing to realize, the sun will make a big difference. South side and the very top of the tree in the full sun will ripen faster than those on the north side or the shady side of the tree. Many trees will require 2 or 3 pickings to get the fruit really at their peak of ripeness. So consider that. When you're picking, look for the fruit on the sunny side of the tree. They'll tend to be the ripest. Picking plums is more a question of tickling them. So if they're really ripe, they'll just tickle right off. Obviously, commercially, you don't want to wait that long because you will lose a higher percentage of your crop. Show you the difference. These on the sunny side and these on the inside, which I have to pull off. Same plum tree, very different in ripeness. That's still quite hard, and these are really juicy, soft, delicious. So you want plums to be really ripe to get absolute bang for your buck. And so just tickle them. If you have to pull them off, they're not ripe, but plums tend to be pretty easy to tell just by the color. I know something else you're thinking. What's the problem picking fruit? I always just shake the tree, right? Well, you know what? If it's your tree, go ahead and shake it. But if it's somebody else's tree, please don't shake my trees or other people's trees. Shaking is great if you're going to put tarps down. I'll show you what it looks like when we pick apples for juice and we're just shaking everything off. It works great. We load 2 tarps, one on each side of the tree, move it ahead to each tree and just shake the tree. But if you're not having a tarp down and you're shaking, you will damage some fruit. Fruit will get that. You'll get about 15 to 20% of the fruit will be damaged. As they're falling, they fall on a branch, they get bruised. They fall on another fruit, they get bruised. They fall on a spur, they get a hole in it. So there will be some damage, but yes, it is a lot faster than going up the ladder and picking. So I'll just show you what happens. And usually when we're picking fruit like that, we do want to wear something on our head. Even a hard hat is not a bad idea. But when you shake fruit trees, you shorten the life of that tree by about 20%. By hand, probably doesn't do that. but certainly machine harvesting fruit from fruit trees does shorten the life of the tree. So let me show you what happens. In this case, I know there are some ripe pears in here, and they will come down and they probably will splat. We usually grab a couple of branches. It's easier to grab a branch than the trunk. Ow. So fruit fall. How do you determine whether fruit is ripe? So we got 3 dates of apples here: mid-August, mid-September, early September, and late September. One way is just looking at the fruit. As you get to know the cultivars, you'll know when it's ripe by the color, the background color and the color. This one was taken from the inside of the tree, so it may not be quite as ripe as it should be. These are looking pretty red, so that one might be kind of ripe. And these just are red, but there's still quite a lot of background color on the green. So obviously just by sight is one. The other way is tasting it. So you can just try it and say, oh, it's still, actually it should be sweeter than that. So the next thing is you look at the color of the flesh. This one is almost white, but it's still got some green hint to it, so I know it's not totally ripe. Let's just compare that with one of these that looks redder. And that's almost about the same. So even though this is a good 3 weeks later than these two are about the same. That was picked on the south side of the tree. That was taken in the inside of the tree, right in the center. So this one will be, it's actually sweeter. It's a sweet apple. And this one shouldn't be ripe at all. It's still got a lot of green to it. So you see the gradation, those two, that's a little wider, but that's definitely got a lot of green tint to it. Now, that's so background color, the color of the flesh, the taste. I don't even want to taste this one. I know it's going to be quite green. But one of the key things to find out is just look at the core. So there you go. That's the latest apple. Almost totally white seeds. And you get the middle season apple here, or at least middle of these three. So that one, you see the seed is almost fully brown. So that's an indication it's pretty well there. It's not missing much. And this one I suspect is going to be about the same just based on the taste. Actually, it's even less ripe. So you can see the difference. Even though this one is an earlier apple than this, by the seeds, this one was less ripe because it was in the inside of the tree. So I'd like to show you one totally ripe. I just don't have one totally ripe. I thought that one would be ripe enough. So you want one ripe will be chestnut brown on the inside. This is next, and this is definitely the least ripe. Just a good key to remember. You know, they say apples brown, and this one's starting to brown. If you have 10 apples and you cut them all and you leave them, the one that turns brown the least has the highest level of antioxidants. So I know Agriculture Canada has been working on that, and they found some apples that will be 2 to 3 days without going brown at all. So that shows a high level of antioxidant, or oxidize the iron that's in the apple. So there's a great little trick if you want to know which apple is probably not necessarily the healthiest for you, but at least has the highest level of antioxidants. Go for the one that browns the least. And that's kind of how you tell whether they're ripe or not. So that's all there is to picking fruit without causing damage. If it's your own trees, it's up to you. But when you're picking on someone else's trees, please pick conscientiously remember to lift, 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 and have fun. It's meant to be an outing. So see you next week. Thanks for watching. Hey, please subscribe and check out our latest video. Certainly, taste. That's horrible. That's horrible.
Go find another one.